Okay, welcome. In this video I'll be sharing with you some somatic explorations that will help to open up and free the ribs. And it's really important to understand that it's not just the ribs, the entire body will benefit from this, and there will be a multitude of benefits. It's really important in general to understand that this idea of specificity and targeting certain parts of the body is useful to a very limited extent. But we have to start to understand that the body is a whole. And when we're talking about the ribs are all interconnected to one another. They're all attached to the spine. The spine is connected to the pelvis is connected to the legs. The upper portion of the ribs are connected to the shoulders, to the sternocleidomastoids, the scalenes, all of that connecting into the head, as well as to the throat. There's a free floating bone, the name of which eludes me, at the hyoid, okay, which has muscles connecting. So there's one body. And so it will be most helpful to you to let go of any idea about what you're targeting or what the outcome should be or what that should feel like or what it should look like or any of that, because actually all of those ideas are based on your past conditioning, which are what you're reenacting moment to moment unconsciously up to now. But through somatic exploration, we undo that habit so that we are free to explore based on reality instead of based on our past. And so what you will find when you really understand that, and when you really open to that, your experience of somatics will change dramatically. Instead of it being one exercise to target one thing, you'll start to really understand and experience directly that interconnectedness, that unity, that wholeness. And then there will be naturally a greater ease and flow will arise in your explorations, which will produce much more desirable effects. Okay. So for this exploration, this is an intermediate level exploration. So if you are if you're not confident in your ability to sit with stability, then this is not for you. I should have said that from the beginning, but I'll put that in the title. It's an intermediate level somatic exploration. So this will be done sitting. There are, you could certainly do variations on the floor, but we're going to be sitting. You could sit on the floor, you could sit on a chair, but make sure that if you're sitting on a chair, that you're absolutely confident in your stability, because we're going to be doing some side bending, and so I don't want anybody falling out of a chair. Okay? So take responsibility for your own safety and well-being. If you're going to be sitting in a chair, make sure that you're confident in your stability and don't ever reach beyond your confidence in the movement. Okay, so come to sitting, and I do find that sitting, if you're capable of sitting on the floor in a posture where the legs are bound, the simplest of which I know is Siddhasana, which, like I say, is the simplest leg bound pose that I know of. It will produce the most stability, but if you can't do that and you do wish to sit on the floor, you can just sit in a simple cross-legged posture, and that would quite possibly work well. Or, as I've said, you can sit on a chair with your feet on the floor, and in that case you would get the best results most likely if you're sitting on a seat, a chair or a stool or a bench that has a fairly flat, firm surface to sit on, and so that your feet can be on the floor. If your feet cannot be comfortably on the floor, then you need a lower surface to sit on. Okay. So we're sitting upright. We should not be leaning back against anything. We want to be able to move side to side freely. And just take a few moments just to actually be present here in the seated posture, because this is our foundation. We're going to be moving from here, and if we're not clear on the foundation from the start, then we won't get as good of results. So if you're comfortable doing so, close the eyes and become aware of the buttocks, become aware of the pelvis, become aware of the contact of the buttocks and the pelvis on the surface that you're sitting on. And become aware of any gripping or tension that you are holding in the buttocks, and release that to the best of your ability. And don't be concerned about achieving perfection in that, just to the best of your ability. And then let's take a few breaths, and these are completely uncontrolled, natural breaths, but done with awareness. So just tune in to your natural breathing. And allow for the inhalation to be satisfying, but gentle and non-forced, so that you're not hyperinflating. You don't need to be lifting your collarbones up to your chin in order to take a breath. You can just allow for the ideally you will first experience the abdomen gently inflating, and then when that reaches its maximum capacity, you will experience the rib cage gently inflating. Now, of course, the abdomen is not inflating with air so much, but the experience is that it is inflating. The experience is that it expands. The abdomen gently expands, and then the rib cage gently expands, and it should be comfortable, satisfying, but non-forced. And then allow, when it feels right to do so, just simply allow for the breath to slowly, gently release. And as you allow for the breath to gently release, notice that most people have a tendency, so just be aware if you have this tendency, be aware of it. Most people have this tendency to collapse when exhaling. So see that it's possible to remain firm and clear in your base, with the buttocks and the pelvis resting on the support, releasing to the support as your foundation, and then allowing for the spine to remain gently yet firmly upright, so that the spine and the torso is not moving a great deal with the breath. The front side of the body expands more than the back side of the body, but also the back and the sides also expand. But the front will expand more. And then releasing, allowing for the spine to remain upright, and letting the exhalation also be non-forced, but satisfyingly complete. It will be longer than you are thinking it is in most cases. Now, you should never be gasping for air or experiencing air hunger, so let the breath be natural and satisfying. But we're just doing it with awareness, so that we're undoing the habits of artificially controlled and stressful breathing patterns that most of us are engaging with habitually and unconsciously. So we're releasing those through awareness. And as you do this, you should find that your experience of your base, your foundation, your buttocks, your pelvis, and your contact with the surface that you're on should become clearer to you. Furthermore, and this is for most people, if this is your first experience with this kind of breath awareness, especially seated, then it's a lot to be aware of. So this might not happen for all people right away, but eventually with this kind of exploration, you'll start to find that just this simple breathing awareness exploration will naturally uncover and recover the innate suppleness and elasticity and ease and pleasure in your torso, in the abdomen and in the rib cage. And that's just the start. So now remain as comfortably upright and with as much awareness of the breath as you can. So allowing the breath to remain uncontrolled, natural, and yet with awareness, so that we're not introducing unnecessary and unnatural breath holds or turning the breath at unnatural points in the breath. And bring the right hand to the back of the head. And have just a few more breaths like this. And as you're breathing in this way, be aware of where you're making unnecessary effort. So you might notice that you're pushing the head against the hand, or pushing the hand against the head, or you might notice that you're experiencing something in the shoulder or the back, and it's just an unnecessary effort. So let that be lighter and easier. Let the breath, your awareness of the breath, gently open and expand and release and soften. And if you find this to be uncomfortable, a couple of things. Okay, one is you don't have to do this. You can take a break anytime. Another is that if you're able to take your left hand and reach to anywhere where you experience that discomfort and just place the hand there. So for example, I notice a little bit of pulling here on the right shoulder blade. And so I can just place the hand there. And that awareness that is increased through that touch will allow me to more rapidly release that unnecessary effort. So the tissue, you can actually feel the tissue in its contracted, bunched up, hardened, armored state. And then just through touch, or sometimes with a little bit of just kind of poking, but it shouldn't be like an intense manual release technique, but just a little bit of poking can help to encourage, through awareness, an inner release of that, so that everything becomes more comfortable. Okay. So then the next part of this is with the hand remaining on the back of the head. So it's resting on the back of the head firmly, but not pushing. We're going to maintain this contact and maintain the, just maintain the contact of the hand on the back of the head. And then just tip the head to the right. So we're not pulling the head. We're letting the hand and the arm is as passive as possible in this. The head and the spine is doing the movement. And then bring the head back to vertical. Again, not doing the movement with the hand or the arm, letting the hand and arm come along passively. And let's do that a few more times. So slowly, slowness is the key, and awareness. So as you move, the key points are to move slowly and with awareness, and to consciously release any unnecessary effort, to soften and release, and then to maintain that softness and release when coming back to upright. So let's do that a few more times. So we're letting the left shoulder be relaxed. So many people have a lot of tension in the side of the neck, and so the tendency when turning the head or tipping the head to the right is to hike up the left shoulder, but we're leaving that left shoulder relaxed and soft. And at the same time, we're letting the right shoulder also be soft and lengthened. Remember that the arm is as passive as possible in this, and then coming back upright. So the movement of the head is actually, when we come back up, you'll notice the movement of the head and the spine draws gently because of the contact of the hand with the back of the head. It just gently pulls the arm back up a little bit. Okay, and then let's take a short rest from that. Let the arm come down and do that slowly so that you can remain aware of that release and the change. So be aware of what's different and avoid indulging the habit of adjusting or trying to get back to your habitual posture, your habitual way of experiencing yourself. Let yourself experience this newness. It's new, and that's a good thing. When we arrive at newness through awareness and gentleness, we can know that that newness is a newness of healing. So not all newness is good, but newness that we arrive at through awareness and gentleness, particularly when we couple that with our intention of healing, then we are guaranteed that that newness that we arrive at is healing newness. And so we want to integrate that by resting deeply with awareness. And if we do this for long enough, and I'm not certain of exactly how long that is, 90 seconds is a good ballpark, then that becomes integrated into the nervous system. So allow that newness even though your brain might be saying, I don't know, this feels weird. Just allow the newness and keep releasing. Keep releasing means you don't move anything, but you can release any unnecessary effort. So if you become aware of some gripping or pulling that you're doing, you can slowly, gently, intentionally soften and release that. But never through pulling anything. You're not counteracting anything. Never using force, just softening. Okay, and then let's do that with the left hand. So we'll bring the left hand to the back of the head. And we'll take a moment here, just a few breaths, to let this somewhat unusual position become as comfortable as possible. So normally when we first start doing something that's unfamiliar, we do it in a way that is unnecessarily strenuous. So we make it harder for ourselves. And you'll notice, if you're observant, you'll notice what happens. There are sensations, pulling sensations, tension sensations, sensations that your mind, your brain registers as discomfort. And then other thoughts, ideas, and memories that surface about, oh, this is too much, I don't like it, it's whatever. We have all of these ideas. I can't do it. I'm not enough, it's too much, these kinds of things. And these are actually the programs that are running unconsciously through all areas of our life, which is why somatic exploration is so incredibly powerful and transformative, is because it actually is acting to undo or dissolve the conditioning that has been sabotaging our truthful intentions, because it's been operating in the background unconsciously. These programs of, I'm not enough, it's too hard, I'm not up to the challenge, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I'll never make it, all these kinds of things. But when we, instead of trying harder, if we do less, so find out where you're making the effort, you'll know because it's where you're feeling it. And again, remember that if you're having any challenge, you can use your hand. Well, first of all, you can always rest. So don't ever endure. It's not an endurance thing. But you can also, if you're not enduring, but you need a little bit more support to try and figure out how do I release that. If you can touch it, you'll help yourself. So just bring your fingers to wherever you notice that. Bring the right fingers and just touch. You can poke. You can kind of make some little circles, whatever works for you. But let it be gentle. Let it be a gentle thing. It shouldn't be strenuous. And it's all to facilitate that connection so that inwardly you can direct that intention to release, direct the intention to soften. Okay, then with the hand remaining there, tip the head, tilt the head to the left. And we're not pulling the head down, we're letting the arm and hand be as passive as possible. And then coming back up using the head and spine and letting the arm and hand, the hand is resting on the back of the head and it kind of gets pulled up because it's of its contact with the head. So let's do that a few times and with awareness. And you can put the other hand, you can keep the other hand on points if you need to offer a little bit more support. So like I'm noticing that on this lateral ribs, I'm noticing a little bit of sensation. And I am finding that if I place my fingers there, that helps me to have more awareness. So as we come back up, we want to maintain the release and softness that we've discovered as we came to the side. So we're doing this small bend. At this point, it's a fairly small bend. Don't exaggerate it. Let it be within your range of comfort, more or less. Maybe just to the edge of your range of comfort. But we're maintaining the softness that we discover as we do the bend. We maintain that as we come back upright. Okay, and then release the arm. And again, be aware of what's changed, be aware of the newness, and be aware of your habits so that you don't unconsciously indulge those habits and go back to the old posture, the old way, the old experience. We want to continue to allow for the newness. So now we can increase that bend. Okay, if it's comfortable for you. If it's not comfortable, then don't. If it's not comfortable, then you can just stay with the same. We'll repeat, and you can just do the same amount of bending, and that would be perfect if that's what's perfect for you. Don't over exert. Don't overreach. Don't strain at any time, because you'll get the best results if you always stay just to the edge of your range of comfort. You want to just move to the edge and explore at the edge, just slightly beyond. Never, ever, ever taking too big of a leap, because if you take a big leap, you don't know how you got there. Your nervous system becomes afraid, and you'll not have good results that way. You'll have very good results if you stay within that. You move within the range of comfort and confidence, and then you get to the edge and you just very gently explore that edge. Just slightly, ever so slightly pushing the boundary. So as I often say, you'll get the best results if you understand that this is a no pain is gain. Okay, it's not, no pain, no gain is an idea that some people have. And this is a no pain is gain. So we're looking to have no pain. If you're having pain, then, and especially if the movements are increasing the pain, then that's not going to give you the best results. What will give you the best results is to find where there is no pain and then move from there. Okay, so let's bring the right hand again to the head, and this time let's bring it to the top of the head. And let the hand be resting on top of the head. Let go and release any unnecessary effort so that this is as comfortable as possible, so that you could sit here for a while if you needed. Make sure that you're breathing. Let the breath be natural, not forced, not exaggerated, but satisfying. And then let's bend the head to the right. And the arm is not pulling. We're not pulling the head. There's a natural bit of weight from the arm, but we're not pulling. So that the arm is as relaxed as possible without the hand slipping off the head. And then see that you can increase that bend, and increase the bend not by lifting. Don't lift the left buttock. Don't minimize the movement lower in the spine, and instead feel it mostly in the side ribs, so that you can experience those ribs expanding. So you could even place, if you're able to do so, you could place your left hand on the left side of the ribs and feel and open those ribs into the hand. So let them really open up. But only as much as is comfortable for you. If it's painful or strenuous, or you're unable to breathe, then don't do that. And then reverse that. So first, slowly closing the ribs, but maintaining as much suppleness as possible. And then bringing the head to upright. And let's do that 2 more times. Wow, I feel fantastic. Okay, so let's first gently letting the head come to the right, and then opening the ribs to the side. So bending further to the right, but through the ribs, not lower down. Because we have most of us have a lot more mobility naturally lower down in the spine, because we don't have all the ribs down there. But we want to really allow those ribs to open up. And if you place the hand there, you can really start to feel, and you notice where there's soft tissue that's ropey or lumpy or hardened or pulling, and just the touch there can help you to become aware that you can soften and release. So all of this, all throughout here, can open and soften and release. And you might be amazed at how much you can bend. And then reverse that. So closing the ribs first, and then bringing the head up. And we'll do that 1 more time. And by the way, okay, for this one, you could, if you're interested, bring your left hand up to the collarbone and just let it rest on the collarbone, so that you can actually let all of the, I guess that would probably be the scalenes in this case, and all the soft tissue around the scalenes can really
lengthen and release. And this is really important if you have upper rib issues, okay? Because if all of this is held tight, which it is for many of us, especially if we are sitting in front of a computer a lot, then this is going to all of that tension there is going to create a lot of discomfort in the neck and shoulders, but also it will create a lot of rigidity in the upper chest, and it will limit our mobility and our comfort and our elasticity, which will limit our breathing and all kinds of things. So come back up. Okay, and then slowly release both hands. And again, take a few moments to experience this newness. Notice the difference between the two sides. It should be quite substantially different. And this noticing, again, it's very important. So avoid indulging the habit of getting back to your usual experience. If you can simply allow this new experience with awareness for long enough, you will experience some very significant shifts. It will actually begin to dissolve and delete the old habits, and this new, more stable, more expansive, more health promoting, more happiness promoting, more abundance promoting mode, posture, experience will become stabilized, which doesn't mean that we may not need to repeat the exploration, because we may well need to do that, especially if we have a lot of habits. But allowing for this newness to integrate will dramatically reduce the amount of time and effort required to have this newness and this greater ease become your new norm. Okay, so now let's bring the left hand to the top of the head and let the arm be as relaxed as possible. And then let's let the head come to the left. The arm is not pulling, the arm is as passive as possible. And then let's allow for the ribs to bend. And if you want to bring your hand, your right hand, to the right side of the ribs, you may find that helpful, as I do. Make sure that your right buttock is still as firmly on the surface as possible, so that as much as possible you're not shifting your weight excessively to the left. Instead, you're opening the rib cage. So you really want to feel all of these ribs on the side, the right, expanding and opening, and all the soft tissue is softening. And then come up, reversing that. So first we gently close the ribs, and then bring the head up, and the arm is as passive as possible. So when I say close the ribs, it's like an accordion. Okay, so like
the accordion opens and closes. The ribs are opening and closing like an accordion here. Okay, so let's do that again. So first the head, and then letting the ribs open like an accordion. And just notice what you notice. The two sides will be different. Make sure also that the thigh is remaining restful. So many of us have a tendency, because we have habits of pulling through the thigh, so the thigh may and the groin may reflexively contract. Soften that and let it be as passive as possible. Really let those ribs open. It's like they're opening toward the sky. And then reverse. So slowly closing the ribs. And then the head comes up. And then we'll do that one more time. And on this one, we'll do the same here that we did on the other side. So we can bring the hand, if you wish, if you're comfortable doing so, to the collarbone. So the right hand to the right collarbone. And you'll feel this soft tissue here running from the head to the collarbone. So there are some muscles, and of course there's fascia there. And the tendency is going to be for that to be tight. So we're just gently encouraging through awareness, and you can kind of, like I'm doing, I'm just gently letting my fingers just sort of stroke that area downward to help encourage a release. But it's not a manual release so much as it's just to help facilitate that awareness so that I can inwardly release. So have the intention through your inner sense to release there. You'll feel that all the way up into the jaw and all the way up to the ear. Okay, so you should feel this starting to lengthen, soften, and release. And then maintaining that softness and release all the way through the ribs and all the way through the neck and the head. Reverse that. So first closing the ribs and then bringing the head up. And then release the hands. So take this time now, again, to just allow for this integration. So be sure that you're stable in your foundation, that you're not straining. Let the buttocks be soft so that you're really releasing to the surface you're on, surrendering to that, because you don't want to be making the unnecessary effort. Be really stable in the foundation. You can imagine and really have a sense of that foundation as being wide so that your buttocks are spread wide on the surface you're on rather than gripping and pulling upward. They're releasing downward, spread, soft, stable. And then you can perceive all of the vertebrae aligned. Release any unnecessary effort. And feel that newness, the expansion, the softness, the suppleness, the elasticity of the rib cage. Notice how your natural breathing has changed. And let your awareness of that natural breath, unforced but satisfying, help you to further soften and release any unnecessary effort that you are aware of now. Notice any sensations. Notice the whole body sensations. This is a really beautiful exploration, so it can really help open up to new sensation in a positive way. So it's helpful to be aware of that. It can also open up sensation that you may initially experience as uncomfortable, but know that you've acted with gentleness and with a healing intention, and you had a stable foundation, and you did your best. And so good things are coming of it. And that's really important to remember, because these somatic explorations can open up so much, and we can start to feel in new ways that either we have never felt, or it's been a long time since we felt, and some of that can be filtered through our old habits of negativity and pain and frustration and disappointment and discouragement and so forth. And so we can unconsciously filter our experience in this negative way and actually believe that we're having a negative experience. But remember that you've acted with gentleness and with a healing intention, and so all of what happens as a result will be good. It will definitely be good. And so your job now is just to continue to remain open to that and remain aware, and to continue to soften and release. That's really important. So don't limit your somatic explorations just to the focused time. It's also important that you remain aware throughout the day, because throughout the day what will happen is sensation will creep in and call for your attention, and if you don't give it that attention in a conscious way, then you'll be giving that attention in an unconscious way, and it will all be filtered through your old habits, mostly of negativity. So what we want to do is we want to allow for that newness to trickle in through an open and, if at all possible, positive avenue, which means that we just are aware, non-judgmental, and remembering that we acted with a healing intention and with gentleness, and so the result will necessarily be healing and goodness. So whatever our initial reaction may be, continue to remain open and non-judgmental. Do not be quick to make judgment. Instead, just remain open to the healing that's occurring, and you will see and be witness to miracles in your life. I promise you that that's true. I can promise that because I experience it myself every single day. And so so whatever happens, just keep knowing that you acted with a healing intention, and so healing is occurring. And sometimes that healing reveals to us our old negativity, and we have to just allow for that to release. So keep softening, keep releasing. Don't indulge the old habits, because the old habits are the habits of contraction, tension, self-defense, self-protectiveness, and all of that maintains the old habit of perceptual habit of fear. Because when the body is contracted, our automatic perception is fear, because there's a connection there. That contraction signals there must be a problem, and so we start to perceive through that lens. And what we have to do now is that we've made this change, we've introduced newness, and we have to just continue to allow for that newness to grow and blossom. We have to provide the right circumstances for that, which means having this attitude of healing, non-judgment, non-reactivity. And keep remembering that I've had a healing intention, that what's happening is healing. I'm open to that. I surrender and release my habits of negativity. I release my habits of pain. I release my habits of self-protection. I release my habits of armoring. I release all that doesn't serve me living my true purpose in this life. So with this, you're guaranteed to succeed. So thank you very much for joining. And if you have enjoyed this, please let me know, because this is obviously just the very beginning of an exploration that we could continue. We've just done side bending, but we could do twisting, which would be excellent, an excellent addition. We could also do the flexion and extension, and then we could start to combine those in all kinds of ways. And we can do both hands on the head, and there's so many beautiful, beautiful things that we can do that will further open this and produce just an abundance of goodness and happiness and ease and pleasure for you in your life, in your body. So please let me know if you find this useful, if you would like more of content in this series, more explorations of this kind. I'll be happy to do that. Okay? See you next time.